Hey, free spirits. Wendy and Dave here. It's June 1st. We get to spend our first camping night in our new outdoor getaway. And I was just going to pan around and show you around a little bit. And we were going to do a quick update on sleeping on a flat surface, finally, and using our Big Agnes sleeping pad. And how we fared with the dog and all of that for our first night. So we'll kind of show you around real quick and we'll take you inside. So we got just our setup here, getting ready to make some breakfast. We got to hang out last night on the new porch, which we're very excited about. And got a table and chairs. And got to enjoy some wine in our fancy wine glasses to celebrate our first night. So we'll take you on inside and show you our setup and share our first night on Big Agnes outside. So we just got a quick setup here. You can see around inside the tent. And there's Big Agnes.
So here's our bed. And we put sheets over it.
So what I did is I just put a
Rapide SL tent floor pad, 50 by 78, tapered, Big Agnes.
And we've got a little we got a nice soft bamboo cover on here, and then I put just a normal fitted sheet on here, and actually it keeps us very warm. I was very warm. It was pretty chilly out last night. For us, sleeping outside, it was about, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. And I will say, the bottom, I was very warm. The top of me got cold, which I realized we probably need another I probably need another blanket on top of that. But we've got a sheet, a blanket, and this quilt, and still probably needed maybe another layer, but not until about 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
When it got really cold, and
probably under 60 degrees.
So one of the things we were testing out too is Abby sleeping with us.
Yeah, and that's one of the main reasons why we had a lot of covers, because we didn't want to have her puncture the Big Agnes, and we were also wondering how well the reflective heat of the Big Agnes would work through all these covers. So part of our experimentation and review is that it worked quite well. We were pretty surprised. Even in the coldest part of the night, where I was starting to get a little cold, the bot underneath, I could feel the heat. I mean, it was almost heating blanket.
Yeah, it was warm. I have to say, it was like the outer part of me was chilly. In the early morning hours. And I wanted to talk about the reason we got this particular, the Big Agnes, was so that we could sleep together next to each other. And I will say, because of the tapering, and Abby slept between us down here, I found myself, kind of snuggled up tight, you know what I mean? Trying to stay on the mattress, with the three of us. So for a width standpoint, it's big enough for Dave and I, but you really can't, I can't sprawl out for sure. Yeah, it's definitely made for cuddling. And would I prefer having two separate ones? Maybe. I mean, I have an extra mat down here that I use for just laying out and exercising and things like that, and so I had that in here just in case. But I didn't. We stayed together, snuggled up for sure.
And it was surprisingly comfortable.
Yes.
It's when you move around on it, you probably woke up a little bit if I had to turn over.
Well, that's the thing too. Yeah, you do bottom out, at times, but
So one of the things with having a bigger one, if you have a small tent and this just fits in the tent, you wouldn't leave it in the tent because you can't really walk on it. So you would probably deflate it and fold it up if you're going to use the tent during the day for whatever, getting dressed or stuff like that. And, you know, I'll describe everything that comes to mind, even though some of it is obvious and so forth. But we had been using an air mattress, which was great, except whenever it was cold,
It was just too
the
cold.
air got cold, and it was freezing cold, sort of like if you're
my
in
body
a hammock
hurt.
and you had wind underneath you.
Yeah, my body was hurting.
So being on the ground, being level was a game changer.
Oh yeah, this is our if this is the first time you're tuning in, this is the first time we've slept on level ground in the tent and have the tent affixed to a deck.
And so being on the ground and trying to get up is sort of a pain, especially if there's somebody else that you're trying not to wake up. So if I was in here tending a fire, we don't have our hot tent set up
right now, but
you sort of have to roll off of it to get up. So that also means in this spacing, if the hot tent is right here, if the stove is right here, I won't have room to really roll off and tend to the fire. And so we're going to have to figure all that
I think we'll have to just change our sleeping position because the tent itself is quite large, so we could certainly turn it.
But in a smaller tent, these kind of things, if you were on a cot, for instance, if you were comfortable enough to be on a cot, you could sit up and get up and not have, all that issue. With this, if you were in a tent that this just barely fit in, it's sort of difficult to get up out of it. We're also trying to be careful and not be walking all over it, but.
And it's not super thick, but it's.
Yeah, it's held. I mean, it held the air pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't check to see if it needs to be blown up more now, but it seems the same. We were comfortable. The other thing too was we have our little pillows. Oddly, when I'm laying and
I noticed it too.
Everything's the same
pattern.
But when I'm laying down on this with the pillow pushes down so much more because it's on the pad that's squishy that my neck was getting a little
me
sore
too. Mm-hmm.
because I needed more height with the pillow.
So we're like, we might need a thicker pillow or two pillows or something because I felt the same way in the middle of the night. It was like sore.
And a lot of the videos that we've watched on YouTube of people camping and having those little tiny pillows, I don't know how it could be comfortable. I mean, it might be more comfortable than nothing, but this is just a regular pillow.
And mine's a down pillow because I like the feather.
And this was not thick enough.
So that was kind of odd. That was an odd experience, because I found my neck and my shoulders from crunching together to stay warm on the outside, and then my pillow was sinking. It was a little uncomfortable. So we also made a lot of trips up and down the path yesterday. So
but other than that, surprisingly comfortable, warm. We did not have any heat in here. The tent was great. It stayed pretty warm. No condensation or anything like that. This canvas tent is
wonderful.
The best.
We really like it.
We could talk a little bit on another video about some of the cons of having this kind of tent in general, but I would say any canvas tent is going to trump a non-canvas tent, number one. So if you're able to have the canvas tent, it's so much better. But I'm pretty happy with it, and the sleeping pad worked great, way better than I thought, and we might bring the air mattress back in, but
once the outside temperature gets a little bit warmer, we may try the air mattress again. And we could have done we just didn't have time to set up the heat stove yesterday, and didn't really think that.
And we wanted to see what it would be like in the colder weather without having heat in the tent. How well would this work?
And it was other than when it got a little cooler early in the morning, it was very comfortable.
And the puppy did okay. But she got up. She woke up
5:30. She was awake,
and her walking on the mattress.
Yes.
So it's very quiet too.
Yeah, so it's not crinkly or anything, especially with the sheets and blankets on there.
But you do bounce around when she's
walking around. And she only weighs 30 pounds, but so that woke us up.
And then of course she had to come lick me.
And that was another thing we realized too. We were shopping for another dog crate because she sleeps in a crate every night. So she's accustomed to being in her little house every night. So I think what we're going to do, because she really wants to, she wants to paw and try to walk, she gets antsy and wants to get out. So there's plenty of room in here to put a crate in here. So I think what we're going to do is get another crate to put just, exclusively to keep in the tent for sleeping down here, and see if that makes her a little bit more settled, yeah, early in the morning. And so I think maybe an outside noise woke her up too. So this is her only second time, I think, sleeping in the tent with us. So that was one of the other backyard getaway experiments, was to get her used to tent camping, along with us getting used to tent camping. And this is obviously glamping it, being that it's our own backyard getaway. But we really wanted to create a space in our backyard that felt like getting away, and that allows Dave to, because he works remotely, that he can come down here and work down here. Our Wi-Fi works well down here, and so creating a whole nother peaceful space in nature right here in our own backyard,
and figuring out exactly what are the minimal things that we need to pack up the tent and go camping.
And we'll do another video on that, about some of our discoveries, just in a little bit of a backyard experiments here. And while we're still actually actively looking at RVs and deciding, what we're narrowing it down to. And I know we've been talking about that for a year, but we really still haven't decided what would be the best fit for the three of us.
And we might still convert our cargo trailer.
It's still in the running of considerations, whether or not
we want to do more than use it to just haul the camping stuff and actually make it into something more. But we're not really sure exactly what we want to do. And around here, a lot of the state and national forest lands, a lot of the roads are hard to drive through, and pulling a trailer, the cargo trailer, I'm not sure how well that will work, and certainly something bigger like an RV, or even a big Class C kind of thing.
That's what we've been kind of looking.
I'm not sure how well that will work around here, but we don't necessarily only want to stay around here. So,
and here is Central Alabama, if you're not familiar with where we are.
So, and it hasn't gotten super hot yet. So.
And this is the first night since the beginning of April that it hasn't rained. Yeah, it's been pouring, storming rain. So, not to say that we can't come out here in the rain, but there's really no need to when we're you know, right up the hill. But this tent definitely is, you know, when it's not on the road, it's going to be here in the backyard pretty much most of the year. I would say maybe not through the winter, perhaps, but even that we might test out a little bit. But we have no desire to prove anything to ourselves about sleeping outside in 30-degree weather. We're not really that excited about doing that.
And we did use the hot tent last year, and it keeps it warm.
It's one. Oh yeah.
So you might have to be up every couple hours feeding the fire, but there's no issue with
it was
keeping
like
it warm.
too warm almost.
Yeah.
So but yeah, so we hope you
and we might hook up the winter well stove on the deck and play with cooking things,
because those are some of the things we wanted to experiment with too, because we've got the water heater reservoir, and we've also got the oven,
fold up
oven. So we haven't practiced with any of that stuff. So
and we have a different thing that we haven't told you about yet for cooking and heating, propane. Fuel.
Our other little guy.
So I'm excited to say the pad worked great. The Big Agnes.
Those are our pros and cons, if you will.
And if you have any questions, be sure to ask in the comments, and we'll be glad to answer and like and share and all that other good stuff.
Yep. So we'll be happy trails to everybody. And remember, of course, that every journey begins and ends with the word joy. Happy travels, everyone. Be free.